I'm Rafi De Haritunian and I'm an art dealer.
How much were originals priced at the highest selling point?
At the highest point is at the moment, and you're looking at perhaps a good industrial oil, maybe somewhere between 24 inches to 20, probably anywhere between 1.5 million to 2.5 million on average. Only those are through auction, so they're obviously privately can go for a lot more.
Okay, and how much at this time are prints priced at?
Over the last 6 months, the prints have shot up dramatically. So an example is Going to the Match, which is one of Lowry's most famous paintings. Say about a year or so ago, they would be going through auction for around £4,000 to £5,000. There are only 850 of them done, bearing that in mind. And recently one went through Tennant's Auction House in Yorkshire for £25,000. Previously, about a month before, another one had gone for 15,000. So it's quite a dramatic rise. But that will happen with the most famous of Lowry paintings.
And why do you think there's been such a dramatic change?
Primarily because Lowry's are so far out of reach for everyday collectors that they will then look down to prints because they are technically more affordable. But even pencil drawings by Lowry can range between 15 to possibly even £100,000.
And then why have prints become more expensive compared to originals now?
It's demand. It's demand. In the end, people cannot afford even pencil drawings that they'll go for the prints.
Okay. And do you think this is going to happen with other artists?
It could happen with other artists. It just depends. It will probably be a long time before somebody will jump that much. A deceased artist, for example. It just depends purely on collectors. Collectors drive the market. So you only need 2 or 3 collectors to decide a certain artist is one worth collecting. They fight amongst themselves and prices rise dramatically.
Has there been any events on that has dramatically changed the prices of Lowry's?
Lowry, really it boils down to the Tate exhibition retrospective, which really was down to Sir Ian McKellen, who did a programme on Lowry and exposed the fact that the Tate had actually had 22 or 23 Lowry oils and had only ever viewed, one had only ever been out in public in the actual Tate for a short period of time in all those years. And I think the public, more than anything, especially up in the north of England, were quite incensed by this, and they then turned it around and decided to actually have a retrospective of Lowry's work, which they then took abroad as well.
Okay, is Lowry widely known?
He is world famous, I guess you could say, but still, I think at the moment, especially in China, they've been introduced to his work, and because of the industrial kind of scene over there, which obviously relates to Lowry's work, they've taken a lot of his work on board. And it wouldn't surprise me, a lot of these high-end Lowry sales through Christie's and Sotheby's are being bought up by the Chinese market.
And is it going to change the art world at all, do you think?
It won't change the art world necessarily, but I think with regards to Lowry, I can only ever see them going up.
And when he died, did they go up in price dramatically, or did they stay quite the same?
They stayed relatively the same. Usually that happens with a lot of artists who are very successful right up until they die, and it takes a little bit of time for the market to calm down, and then slowly they start going up again.
And why is this?
It just varies, always varies. It's very tricky to say. Sometimes people were paying high-end prices while he was alive, that the only ones that then fall into auction just after he died wouldn't necessarily get that money back straight away. So it just takes a little bit of time, and it gradually comes back up.
Is there a specific painting that's the most famous or the most in demand at all?
Well, I would come back to going to the match is probably one of his most famous ones, purely because the Football Association bought it, I think in 1999 for about 1.9 million. And only up until a couple of years ago, there was another football painting that was discovered, which I think fetched around 4 million. So it just shows, if that was then to come back onto the market, the original going to the match, it would probably break the record for a Lowry at auction, which is I think about 5.6 million currently. But then you reflect that back onto the prints, and probably the most expensive print is going to the match as well. So it is probably his most well-known one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.